Finally, the moment a couple of you have been waiting for.
It's all like bing bong, Jack.
Coming to you from an undisclosed location in Duval and St. Johns County. The show for Jag fans by Jag fans.
You can't have a newcomer come in and steal the show.
Here are your hosts, Franklin and Michael how you say it? DeZoba. Welcome to the Jaggernaut Podcast.
Ladies and gentlemen, kids of all ages, welcome back to another Jaggernaut Podcast. That's right, we're doing a special edition. My brother really wanted to get something off of his chest. I think he's just excited. He's excited because the Jags finally have our winning season. We look like we're a professional NFL team. We're going up against probably one of the hardest teams we're going to face this year, and the Eagles are looking great. So what do we do? How do we do it? I don't know. Frank, I think you're going to help us. We're going to try to figure this out and see what we can do. So I want to welcome you guys to another podcast, another Jaggernaut podcast. Thank you for joining us. All right.
Well, I think excited is a fair adjective to apply to me at this point. You know, when it's not every day, we're just not used to being a team that's talked about
a decent football team.
Yeah, well, and also this is like a prime matchup. It doesn't matter who you hear talk about it. Everybody's excited to see these two teams go together or come together and match up against each other. And when you're talking about a team in the Philadelphia Eagles, who most people looked at the Eagles and saw a good team last year that was trending upwards. And they looked at the Eagles and thought, well, this is a team to watch. This is a team that could be really good this year. And they haven't disappointed, and they're 3-0.
You know, it's funny. After last year, I thought Philly was trending down.
Really?
Yep. I came away from last year thinking Jalen Hurts sucked horrible. He was awful. He had open receivers he could not seem to get the ball to. He was constantly tucking and running, which is an ability he has.
Right.
But he used it all the time, and that was all he used. Tampa in the playoffs kept him in the pocket, and he was awful. He was god-awful. And I came away from that playoff game thinking, this guy can't read defenses. This guy can't understand where his open man is. I'm like, they're gonna suck.
Now, do you think that these past 3 games, because people are saying that Hurts has improved his game, do you think that is it a scenario where for whatever reason teams haven't done what Tampa did and they're not keeping him, or has he adjusted?
He has gotten better.
Okay.
The last 3 weeks, or the first 3 weeks of the season, dude's balling. Like, he's getting the open guy. He's buying time with his feet, not just looking to run. And he's waiting for his receivers to clear. He's doing everything you got to do as an NFL quarterback. Plus, he can still damn tuck it and run. Dude's dangerous.
Yeah, that tuck and run is something that the NFL, it appears, has, for the most part, yet to adjust to. The quarterbacks that do that on a consistent basis are just quarterbacks that can gash a defense. And the defensive coordinators just don't seem to have an answer for it on most occasions. We do see times when, for whatever reason, like you're talking about, I can think of, I know that I think the Bills at one point kept Lamar Jackson in check. But, you know, Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen does this from time to time as well. Maybe not at the level that Jackson and Hurts do, but, yeah, they're just running backs. I mean, and it makes sense. I mean, even when I think of the Bills when they run, you know, you talk about this run-pass balance that takes place. I mean, if you are a team that has a quarterback that is basically a running back, and a successful one, because anytime they run, typically you're talking about a 5-yard gain at least.
Yeah, they're successful.
Yeah. So the idea that you just always call pass plays, with the concept being, if nobody's there, your quarterback runs. So almost every time you call a pass play, your secondary plays a run. So that you can see that built-in advantage. And Lawrence, to his credit, has the ability to run, but his is more of an improvisation when the play breaks down, buying time in the pocket, running
Or one, two
laterally,
plays per game.
looking downfield, that
Right.
sort of thing.
Hurts, they will script in multiple runs for him. When a play breaks down, he will take off. Sometimes he'll just see it, and you know how you see that play where they show it from like the end zone cam, and it's like the C's part. If he sees that, he's running. He's not looking to throw. He's just running, and it's a smart decision.
Yeah.
There are times where last year where I was critical of him, where I'm like, you should have stayed in the pocket. You only got a 3-yard gain, but Devonta Smith was open 17 yards, yelling at you, saying, "Throw the damn ball." So that happened last year, but this year he's hitting Devonta Smith. He's not missing it. He's getting it. He's got AJ Brown. I mean, these guys, this offense, this is our first true test of a actual, what I think is a playoff caliber team.
Well, you say that, but the truth of the matter is the Colts and the Chargers are both teams that are considered to be playoff caliber teams.
But the entire world outside of Jacksonville is saying that we played a limping Colts team and we played a limping Chargers team. So technically, we didn't play the team. We played 3/4 of the team. That's
Okay.
what they're saying.
Yeah.
The Eagles are healthy. Outside of Avonte Maddox, they're healthy.
Yeah, but and what's funny about that though is that's hindsight changing what everybody thought going into it. So going into that Colts game, just to go back to the Colts game, because that was after the Commanders game, which we should have won, but we played. It was very a mixed bag.
Yeah.
Very mixed bag. So we didn't have quite the positive view of the Jags after that game. So going into the Colts game, I think everybody said, okay, this is a tough matchup. The Colts are still stinging from last year's defeat, blah, blah, blah. They got destroyed 24-0. Okay, so, and you could say, well, this or that, but the truth is there were some, trying to think about, so Pittman didn't play. And
Leonard.
And
Leonard, yeah.
Was it not Darius? That he changed his name, Shaquille, I guess.
Darius Leonard.
So he didn't play. So fair enough, and that is something about the Jags. We are relatively healthy, extremely healthy actually, in regards to typical NFL stuff. So but nonetheless, you beat them 24-0. That's what good teams do. You go up against another team. You don't just eke out a win against a hobbling team. You destroyed that team. We also did that against the Chargers on their own field. And so therefore, the Jaguars, yes, you do have to go. In context, you have to say, though both those teams were hobbling at the time that we faced them, but we dispatched them in ways good teams ought to do it.
And that's correct.
And you can't quite take away how we looked necessarily.
And that's what's making me feel good. That's what's making me say that we're finally looking like an NFL team. Okay. Now, granted, I think I've seen some Jags fans on social media, and it's funny. I don't know how you guys forgot the last 20 years. I mean, it's great. It's great that we're balling. It is. It's great. But don't forget the last 20 years, right? Keep on the Jags. The Jags still have to earn your money. Every week, they have to earn your money. So that's what I'm expecting. To me, if I want to see a football game, like an actual football game, where one team gets to the line, stands face to face with the other team, and they start slugging, this is the game that I'm watching. If I want to see aerial Baddocks and two running backs just running like Tecmo Bowl, then I watch the Bills and the Ravens. So to me, that's the game. If I want to see that kind of stuff, that's where I watch it there.
Did you just call Josh Allen a running back?
Yeah, he is. I mean, he's a running back that can throw damn well.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, but so is Lamar Jackson. But I think Josh Allen's a better passer.
Okay, so and you think Hurts is different?
I think Hurts is more like Josh Allen, where he's a running back that can pass. I think if I look at all three of them, Josh Allen's the best passer, followed by Hurts, followed by Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson's probably the best runner just because he's faster.
Right.
Hurts is equally as shifty. Josh Allen's not shifty or that fast, but he's big and powerful. So it's like, all right, where do you want to put him? So Lamar Jackson's the better runner, followed by Hurts, followed by Josh Allen. So anyway,
okay, so
that's not. Yep. Let's get back on point here.
Yeah, yeah. So my thought is that since we're on quarterback, let's compare the two quarterbacks. Trevor Lawrence, Jalen Hurts, and Hurts is as we've talked about. Hurts looks like the MVP of the league at this point, or at least one of the candidates, along with Lamar Jackson, by the way.
Yeah. I mean, he's in the running.
Yeah, he definitely is. He's played really well. He's improved. He made the improvements people wanted to see him make, at least up to this point, and so has Trevor Lawrence. So we've got two ascending quarterbacks going up against each other. Now, I think it's fair to say that anybody who's not an Eagles fan, probably if you got to choose one quarterback for the future to investment, most people would probably choose Lawrence, but we're not talking about the future long-term investment. No, we're talking about this game.
Yeah.
To me, that's a tougher call.
And to me, I gave the edge to Hurts because of his running ability. I can't knock him I can't knock his passing because the dude's balling.
Yeah.
So, the one area where I would strike him and then put Lawrence above him is an area he's excelling at. So I'm not going to do that. So it's Hurts.
And the best I could do is a push, if I'm being honest. I can't put Lawrence above Hurts because very similar numbers, but in a different style of quarterback. But one is 3-0 and the other is 2-1. And just the push is a credit to Lawrence and his improvement of the past two games. So I expect him to continue to be really good. Or at least maybe that's a hope. I'm expecting it, though. I actually am expecting him to be pretty good.
Right, but to me, I give the edge to Philly. All right, wide receivers.
Yeah, man. I think you have to go Philly, don't you?
I did.
A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith.
Devontae Smith, Quez Watkins.
It's close.
Yep. So, and I didn't do tight ends specifically, but I'll throw long tight ends in here too because Goddard, while he does block, he's okay at it. He ain't great. He's more of a big pass catcher, and he's really good at it. So I give this to Philly. Yes, our guys are good. I have no problem with our guys, but we don't have this speedster. Quez Watkins has speed. I mean, the dude's a 4.2 guy. We don't have that. We're fast and shifty, I guess. They're big, powerful, and fast. So it's like, okay, so to me, I give it to Philly. So Philly takes that one as well.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I would say that I think that for me, it may, on talent, on paper, I would give it to Philly as well. I would say that the way it may translate to points or yardage or catches is probably going to be more of a push again, only because I think Lawrence is a little bit better and more efficient at throwing, and Hurts brings that additional running advantage, although that can also translate to big plays when you get the defense looking too much in the backfield.
Having to spy you, having to waste one whole dude just to babysit you.
And I will say I've seen some good Hurts. I mean, when I was watching some of the stuff, one of the things I noticed was Hurts focused. His intermediate routes were mainly toward the center of the field. That was where he seemed to have success. And I was surprised by his accuracy on the deep ball. When he took his shots, he was very accurate. And I think his deep shots were a little bit more outside. Typically the speedster on the outside. But they set everything up with intermediate in routes, crossing routes, and things like that. And I would say probably a little bit deeper than what we tend to run. I think Kurt runs a little bit.
I actually
shallow
sort
runs.
of disagree with you a little bit. He's very accurate inside and close, inside 10 yards and in the center. Dude's on it. That's why I think our linebackers are going to be huge this game.
Yeah.
If they step up and they ball, if Devin Lloyd gets another interception, which he doesn't throw many, Hurts doesn't throw a lot of balls that are the potential to be picked. So Lloyd's going to have to step into one of those things. He's going to have to make sure he understands where he is and where the receivers are. It is going to be a tough task for our linebackers. Anyway, let's move on to running backs. What say you, Franklin?
I think this is the one where I think it's clear that we probably have the better running back. I think most people would say that with Robinson coming back, looking like he didn't have an Achilles injury. Travis Etienne's fast. Like if you start watching some of his clips, I mean the guy's really fast. I'm surprised he hasn't broken one yet. So I think we've got a tandem of running backs that can rival any tandem of running backs in the league. I don't think Miles Sanders and Boston Scott are on the level that we are as far as running backs are concerned in the way that I'm thinking of running backs being used. So I'm going to give us the edge in running backs.
I agree. I gave this to the Jags as well for the exact same reason. I think James Robinson is a more complete back than Miles Sanders and Boston Scott, because if they were a complete back, you would just use one of them. And then I also think, now don't get me wrong, I like Gainwell. I like him out of the backfield. I think he's a great pass catcher. But both of our guys are also really good pass catchers. And I gave the edge to us because Etienne's faster than all three of them.
And I think Boston Scott's hurt too, if I'm not mistaken. I think he might be out this game.
Yeah, I think he's hurt, and I don't think he's playing. I think he's with Avonte Maddox, and he's not playing. So again, even if he was healthy, I would still give the edge to Jacksonville in this. So I forgot this is the Jags. O-line. Ole.
It's hard not. Our O-line is playing really good. But I think the statistics bear the fact that I think Philly's got one of the best offensive lines statistically in the league.
Actually, they do. I mean, their tackles, they have Lane Johnson. Right? They have Matafai, I cannot say his name, but he's good. He's been there forever. And then you got Kelsey, right? Not only is Kelsey a really, really good center, he's played in the league 13 years, and he's one of those guys who you can cheer for. He has personality. He's cool.
I didn't even realize that was Travis Kelsey's brother.
Yep.
I didn't know that till recently.
Yep. So to me, I got to give this to Philly.
Yeah, I agree with that. But what's interesting, this is going to be a very interesting, because I would say this, and you correct me if you don't agree with this. This is going to be the biggest test that the Philly offensive line, as good as they are, they have not met a defensive line like what Jacksonville is going to put in front of them.
That is potentially true. That is very true.
And as good as they are, it's going to be a different test.
They had Detroit, and Hutchinson was able to make some noise, but there's nobody on the other side of Hutchinson.
Right.
So this would be the first time that they also fought the Commanders, and the Commanders got after us a little bit.
Yeah, they did.
So, I mean, honestly, is it the best? One could argue it is. One could argue it would be the best that they faced.
Our defensive line versus their offensive line is something to watch, and it's something that will probably tell if they stone our defensive line, we could be in for
A long day.
a long game.
A very long day.
If at least there's some give and take, that we're able to take a good offensive line because we think we've got a really good defensive line. If we have times where we get to Hurts, pressure Hurts, then you're gonna be in that game. That's the way I'm kind of anticipating this going. So it's watching that matchup, watching how long Hurts has, watching the spacing, the pressure, and seeing how that. And also, you mentioned the linebackers, and it's a great point because, like I said, I also saw as I was watching the Philly highlights, I saw like I mentioned a lot of their pass plays, their successful pass plays look to be in between the hash marks, intermediate. Which, as soon as I'm watching that, I'm thinking, boy, our slot corner and our linebackers are really going to have to be on their game for this one. And so you mentioned Maddox on their side. Their slot corner is hurt. So, and we like to run Kirk in slot a lot. So that kind of sounds like a helpful thing. So
yeah, I'm not scared of their secondary. Okay, so let's go with did we already do defensive line?
No.
Okay,
No.
so let's do that first. So we just did offensive line, right? And I gave it to Philly. You gave it to Philly?
Yes.
Okay, defensive line. I'm going to give this to Philly.
Okay.
I'm going to give this to Philly because they make some noise. In every single game that I've watched this year, they're wreaking havoc in the backfield. I mean, Fletcher Cox, Derek Barnett, Brandon Graham, Hassan Reddick. He's listed as a linebacker, but he'll play that defensive end. So, I mean, those guys, and they have Jordan Davis, who they just drafted out of Georgia. Those guys, they're better against the pass than they are against the run. So that's something we may need to look out for. Detroit tore them up with the run. Why Detroit wasn't able to continue to run, I'm not 100% sure. I didn't watch that game a whole lot in the second half. But yeah, so to me, I gave this to them based off really experience.
Yeah.
That's what I went with. One, stats and numbers, Philly's better, but their experience and when they need a play, their guys constantly show up. So
it's hard to argue because what did they have, like 9 sacks or something retarded?
Just against Carson Wentz.
Yeah, yep. Which and we sacked Wentz. I should have pulled that up, but I know we sacked Wentz a couple times, but
it was not 9.
No.
They
but
lived back there.
Yeah, and sometimes it's just I don't know why Wentz was on his game, especially in that fourth quarter. So I think that so I it's hard to argue with what you said. The defensive, as good as our defensive line is, I think it's fair to say there's a slightly better. At least they've been statistically. I like the fact that we're younger. That I like the fact that we're stopping the run better than they are, but when it comes to passing the ball, they get to the quarterback a little bit better than we do. So we'll see how that translates out in the in this game. But yeah, that's a fair point. What about linebackers?
So, linebackers, boom,
us
Duval, big too.
Oh, okay.
Their inside linebackers are not very good. Like they're not great playmakers. We have potentially defensive rookie of the year.
Right.
Lloyd is making his tackles. Lloyd is diagnosing quick. He is covering tight ends. He's covering running backs. He's getting fumbles. He's getting interceptions. Lloyd's doing it. They don't have that. Like they don't have that playmaker at that level. So to me, Lloyd, and we're not even talking about Oluokun. We're just talking Lloyd. Lloyd wins by himself. You add Foye Oluokun to it, and they definitely can't even compare. And it's probably why they're not very good against the run. I mean, they're not horrible against the run, but they're not. They're much better defending the pass than they are defending the run. And I think that's why they're inside linebackers. They're not very good.
And yet you said that you don't believe their secondary is that great.
That is correct too. Yeah.
So
So they got Darius. So their corners, right?
Yeah.
Their corners are Darius Slay and Avonte Maddox.
Okay.
Maddox is out, and by Pro Football Focus, he's their best corner. Slay, big play Slay is what they call him, and he showed up in the Minnesota game. He does show up, and he does make plays, but that's only one guy. So you have your cornerback, and then you have your other cornerback, and the other ones, they're not all that great. But because I didn't hold Maddox being injured against them, I actually gave cornerback to them.
Oh, wow.
I gave it to them honestly because Shaquille Griffin hurts us. Tyson Campbell is as good as Avonte Maddox, Darius Slay. He is in that realm, or maybe even he can become slightly better. But right now, I would put him in that realm. But I put Griffin because of Griffin. He's lower. So I gave them that edge just because of Griffin.
Okay, so on paper, no injuries, you're slightly grading their secondary better than ours.
They're cornerbacks, yep.
Okay, cornerbacks. Well, let's throw safeties in there too. Let's just talk about.
See, now safeties are a little bit different. We add safeties in there. I actually give the edge to Jacksonville.
Okay, that's interesting.
Our safeties are playing pretty good. If Hurts messes up, which he doesn't do a lot, but if he messes up and misses those balls, either a little high, a little low, or a little behind the receiver, our safeties are there. So they have Chauncey Gardner from the Saints. His best deal is he runs his mouth and gets in people's heads. Like, that's his best deal. He's not bad, but there's nothing about him that screams playmaker.
Right.
Okay, Cisco can make plays. So we have playmakers. Yes,
Rayshawn Jenkins is playing better than Cisco so far.
Yes, Rayshawn Jenkins is balling.
And he's a former Eagle, is he not?
Rayshawn Jenkins? No, he came from the Chargers.
Oh, okay, yeah, maybe I'm getting my teams. That's okay, right.
So to me, if you want to add, I split the two, but if you want to add safeties in there, then the tilt goes to Jacksonville.
Okay, so
because
that
we have the better safeties. They have the slightly better corners.
Okay, so now, so if you were just going to grade the defense generally, give a total grade, pass, or if you would try to come up with some sort of number, and I'm not asking for a number exactly, but if you compared defenses, what would that change at all? Because if you just deal with corners, well, it sounds like a push then maybe, because we got the linebackers and the safeties, they get the corners and the defensive line.
Yes. Yeah, and that's the way I would break it out.
Okay, so pretty much the same score, generally speaking. Okay, so similar. So I mean, I guess basically what we've done is we've sort of just explained why this is in most people's minds a really great matchup, because
or a dogfight.
Yeah,
these are two damn dogfight.
Two teams that it's really hard. You're picking a little bit to figure out one over the other in each specific area, but generally speaking, all told, you're coming up with two decently good teams on paper that are playing really well right now, coming against each other. So, kind of gives you this idea about why people are looking at this as one of the games of the week.
Now, there's another area where I think if we dominate them in this area, it can go a long way to helping us sneak out a win. Special teams. I think we have the special teams. And the only reason I say that is because I think Agnew is the best returner on the field. Agnew will be repping Duval, will be wearing the teal, not the midnight green or the Kelly green or whatever green you guys want to wear. So, and if we can get a return, whether it's punt, whether it's a kickoff return, if we can get a return, I think that sets us up very well. But I think the keys to winning are controlling the clock, the game through the run, and getting a big play on special teams. That's what I think.
Gotcha. Yeah, I could see, just based on what you're telling me, I could kind of formulate a little bit of a game plan. Pretty standard run. Some standard runs up the middle. Kind of focused in on their linebackers, and hopefully dropping some stuff over top with play action out right in the hashes. Focusing with Kurt. Maddox is out, so you could kind of see that focus, materialize how you might want to try to create a game plan if you're Doug Peterson. And
yeah, I hit their linebackers and I don't stop.
Yeah, well, and it sounds like from what you're saying, their safeties aren't backing their linebackers. They're not. It's not like they reinforce, an average linebacker core with a superior safety core. It doesn't sound like so.
Right. No, to me they're both average.
Right. So that's the center of the defense.
Their defensive line is so good,
right,
or has been so good that it hasn't left their secondary to get that exposed. So
yeah, and so for me, I'm hoping Peterson comes up with a bit of a game plan to get that negated, to kind of help the offensive line out at least early on, not just run into the teeth of those defensive line, because I think that will make it easier on their linebackers to plug holes.
Now they will tackle outside. I don't think the key is running outside on these guys because they will tackle. So I don't think that's key. I think it's running up right at Fletcher Cox, running up right at Jordan Davison. I think it's doing double teams to get your hole and then having your center come off and pick up whoever he can pick up, and you pick it up 4 or 5 yards at a time.
Yeah.
That's what I think the key is because they're fast. They can get outside too. Would I try? Of course I would try. But from what I've seen, they cover sideline to sideline very well. So to me, when you have a team who's quick sideline to sideline, you just run it down their throats. You try to out physical them, not out finesse them. So.
Right. Well, I think that pretty much. Is there anything else you want to add before we summarize it?
I think run the ball and special teams. That's what I think. That's how I think we can win.
So how are you feeling about the game generally going into it?
Going into it, I think Philly pulls it out, but I think they win. I think it's a dogfight. I think it's a mano for a little while. It could be ugly where it's like 3-6 up until midway in the fourth quarter, and then somebody gets loose, and then, or people get tired or however you want to say it, and then there's a few scores in there, and Philly comes out the better end. Whether they kick a last-second field goal or whatever I think they have to do,
yeah,
I think they take it. I do think we can cover 6.5 in this type of game.
Yeah.
And it could be they score a late touchdown and don't kick the field goal. I mean,
yeah, if I was betting,
point.
I'd probably, if I was a betting person, I would bet the Jags.
Yeah, no, keep in mind that we opened as a 6.5 dog on the road to the Chargers. But by the time game time came, that got down to a 3.
Right.
This line hasn't moved. This line is 6.5. So that means there's even money being put on both sides of the ball. So we can't lean to Vegas to be like, oh, Vegas might know something. So,
yeah.
But yeah, that's it. That's all I got. Those are my keys to success. Run the ball and good special teams.
Any intangible advantage to either team because it's the Doug Peterson return?
No, and that's another thing. People have been saying that this is some kind of a revenge game for Doug Peterson. I don't think it is.
No, I don't think it is either.
I don't think he cares one way or another about that portion of his Philadelphia experience. I think he still likes the fans, which is really all that matters. I think he still likes the city, which again is all that matters. So the higher ups in the organization, I don't think he really cares one way or another. I do though think that he's a guy that is going to put all he's got for us. So and that's why I think we're going to get a hell of a game.
Yeah.
Man, I don't have any other adjectives to really say.
No, I think that says enough. I mean, the truth of the matter is that's all. As Jag fans coming into this season, I mean, this is all we could ask for. I mean, now for me, I'm actually going to call for a win here. I think the Jags are going to pull this one out. Only because you got to go one way or the other, and I'm a little tired of hedging my bet because I've said that for the Colts and the Chargers, where it's like, oh, it'll be a close one, it'll be a close loss, we'll have the moral victory. I kind of feel like, and it could be fool's gold. It could just be, you go in and you're feeling it now because it's like you had 2 good games in a row, and there's part of me that feels like for whatever reason, and I know the Commanders, that we both played the Commanders, so that's a common barometer, and if you go by that, they are the better team. But for whatever reason, I just think, that game's a bit of an aberration for us, and I think we're better than that, and I think we're an ascending team, and I think we're going to go into this game and we're going to really show out a little bit. Now, of course, it's not going to be a blowout by any means. It's going to be a difficult win, but I think I'm calling for a win, but we'll see.
Hell yeah, brother.
But it's
nothing wrong with that.
No. I mean, at some point you got to call it, right? I mean, that's the way I'm like. Let's put it on the line. What?
As pessimistic as I am, as much as I tell Jags fans to look at the last 20 years, because it's that roller coaster ride. Watch out what you say. Yeah. I see them all over social media talking shit. And I'm like, man, me personally, I don't know that we've arrived. I don't know that we deserve to be arrived.
Well, if
we beat the shit out of Philly, we've arrived.
Yeah.
Well, Philly's a good game.
We've arrived in this respect. We are now a professional football team. That I think we can say. Now, are we one of the teams that people need to talk about in regards to playoffs and going deep into the playoffs? No, not yet. You can't say that yet. I'm just saying we're a team that in an AFC South, we are definitely in the hunt to win this thing for the AFC South, which means we can get into the playoffs if we do that. If things don't change or all of a sudden we fall on our face, which I don't think we're going to do. We don't seem like that team anymore. It just doesn't feel like that team anymore. And that's the thing that I'm taking away from it,
By the way, Frank, do you know what John means? I'm speaking Philinese.
No, I don't know what that means.
You don't know what John means?
Mm-mm.
They use John in place of nouns. It's a person, place, or thing. It could be either male or female. Typically, it refers to a female, but they call everything John. And it's Jawn. There is a.
You're teaching me something I never knew.
There's a funny YouTube video of the Jags going around the locker room asking other Jags if they know what these things mean. I knew what some of them meant. Some of them I did not. So I had to ask my wife. I'm like, what the hell does that mean? So.
Huh. Well, there you go.
It's a funny YouTube video.
Gotcha. So that was an inside Jaguar locker room type thing?
Yeah.
I've seen those before. I missed that one, though.
Yeah.
All
right, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you for joining us. We were giving you a little pregame, what we thought of the Jags Philly. So we have it split here. Who's going to win? I'd like to hope Jacksonville will be winning since my wife's a huge Eagles fan, and well, they're another team. So just another speed bump on our road to success, and dare I say, championship.
Don't ruin it, man.
Anyway, thank you for joining us. Good bless. God night. Good night. Whatever.
You don't want to call them out with a Duval?
Sure. You ready?
Duval! All right, guys. Like and share.